Thank you, Richard. My name is Brandon Essrig. I started by covering the business-related communication patterns. In Japan, their communications epitomized with subtlety and nuance, where how one appears and what they publicly state are often poles apart. What's expressed they call the tatame, and what's actually felt is called the hone, and they're very contradictory. We do, however, realize that communication is essential in any good business, so we would adapt to that. As far as their business customs, their customs deal with building a professional image, and that's also very different in Japan. They bow when greeting each other, but they expect to shake hands with foreign executives. However, it's still appropriate for the foreign executive to give a bow out of courtesy. Group decision making is very important. They like to give everyone their sense of importance by including them. For this reason, it takes longer to cultivate business relationships. They deal on a last name basis in business relationships, and also they're keen on gift giving, and business cards are very important there. They're exchanged to formalize the introduction process, and there's a certain way they have to be passed. They can't be slid across a table or anything. They have to be passed with two hands, with nothing in between the person, and if they're translated, one side in English, one in Japanese, it should be passed with the Japanese side facing forward. As far as the negotiations between the companies, interpreters or bilingual assistants are very popular, almost required, because a lot of the Japanese executives don't speak English well. They can greet in English and read English relatively well, but when the interpreter's brought, they're often very expensive, so it shows that the executive is very serious about doing business in Japan. In the meeting itself, you greet the senior-most employee first, and the rest in descending order, and the senior-most employee is usually just there to oversee everything and don't normally do any talking or negotiating. They like dealing with quiet, sincere, and compromising people. Silence is a virtue there, so oftentimes it gets silent in the meetings. It's said that you shouldn't panic because it's normally just reflection taking place. Also, they're big on contractual agreements, and the written agreement, even if it's less detailed than here in the United States, it's essential to meet legal, tax, customs, and accounting requirements. As far as the conflict and conflict resolution techniques, they're sure to arise. Conflict resolution helps to create a healthier, safer work environment. So I looked up some of the reasons that conflict arises. Some of them were opposing positions, competitive tensions, power struggles, ego, pride, jealousy, performance discrepancies, compensation issues, everything down to someone just having a bad day. All of them go into two categories, which are poor communication and someone not being able to control their emotions. Some of the ways it's handled there is it's defined right away what is not acceptable. They hit the conflict head on. They try to figure out where the conflict's coming from, and they look to use that conflict and turn it into opportunity. As far as the time and personal space, it's needed to cool down. The personal space in Japan is a little different. They prefer to stand at arm's length from one another. 2.5 to 3 feet is normal. When meeting strangers, it's often further. And there's almost no touching, however, between men and women while conversing. In social situations, it's a little different, like drinking, something like that. At this point, I'll turn it over to Alicia, who will be covering the nonverbal, gift-giving, weather and climate, holidays, public and religious, the family life, and education opportunities.